It's expected around...
Top story, of course, is the whodunit in the Aarushi Hemraj double murder case. Incriminating evidence against the Talwars, there is enough circumstantial proof to suggest that the doctor couple murdered their daughter. The CBI claims they did this because they were convinced that she was having an affair with a domestic help Hemraj. In a few hours, India's biggest murder mystery, the Aarushi Talwar murder case, will be cleared up. Now, for the last 5.5 years, the needle of suspicion in this case was swung wildly till earlier this year when it finally settled on the murdered 14-year-old's parents, Dr. Rajesh and Nupur Talwar. Well, the CBI case primarily rests on a theory built around 141 documents, including the statements of the star and primary witnesses. Interestingly, the CBI admits that while it doesn't have any material evidence, but claims that circumstantial evidence points to the Talwars. For the last year, the prosecution and the defense have contested each other's claims in a seemingly torturous and emotionally draining trial to reach their respective positions. Today, a CBI court presided over by Judge Shyamlal Jain will be ruling on the honor-killing theory adduced by the CBI. But the witness stand was taken over by an assortment of friends of Talwar, doctors and also the family maid. Their statements were incriminating, damaging, and some even retracted their statements. Well, it was indeed a roller coaster trial, one that the country would not easily forget.
The first investigating officer, Mr. Vijay Kumar, of CBI, he himself admitted while testifying as prosecution witness number 37 that in that night there were more people there, and in this case he had arrested 3 persons who had admitted to the commission of committing both the double murders. Therefore, the CBI claims at the end of the day that there were only 4 people in the apartment is not proved on the ambit and anvil of evidence.
इसके सर्कमस्टांसेस ऐसे हैं कि इस केस में इन 2 अक्यूज के अलावा और कोई भी व्यक्ति बाहर से आके कत्ल नहीं कर सकता। घर के अंदर 4 लोग थे, 2 जिंदा रह गए, 2 मर गए और बाहर से किसी की फोर्सिबल एंट्री है नहीं। सुबह नौकरानी आई तो दरवाजा इन्होंने अंदर से खोला, इसलिए सारा केस जो है वो इन्हीं के ऊपर ही है, चार्जेस जो हैं वो इन्हीं के ऊपर प्रूव होते हैं।
Well, the court would have made notes of the arguments. The court will marshal the evidence, documentary and oral, and then will record its findings on the basis of court's own analysis, after taking into account arguments by both sides.
Well, joining us now is Athar Khan and Priyank Tripathi from the Ghaziabad court, and also our correspondent Molly Gambhir and also Supriya Bharadwaj join us from outside the Talwar residence. Joining us here in the Noida studios is also Teena Sharma, social activist. Well, Athar, if I could come to you, it is a sensational murder case which has rocked the nation and gripped the imagination of the nation for the past 5.5 years. What time do we expect some sort of closure today?
Well, Meena, like we said earlier when I talked to you earlier today, it's expected around 12 to 12:30 the judge will pronounce the verdict in this particular case. We also have Priyank joining me. I'll come to Priyank in just a bit. Of course, 12:30, like I said, the verdict is supposed to be out. We have seen a slightly more increased presence of police in the last half an hour since we last spoke. Like I mentioned earlier in my report, that the security has been tightened, and when the Talwars do come in from their residence towards the courthouse, it's expected to be the tightest. Let's go across to Priyank right now to get a slightly more detailed view of how the case has been progressing. Priyank, this case has baffled so many for 5.5 years. I was just talking to Sumit just a while ago, and we talked about how the closure reports were completely thrown out of court, that the Talwars petitioned the court again and again. Now we understand S. Lal Jain is the judge. He's a CBI special judge. How do you expect the judgment to really come out? There have been so many theories, but give us a slightly more detailed account of what really happened throughout the case. A short recap, if you will.
See, since the moment this information was given to the media that around 8 o'clock when Talwar called up to the Noida police station sector 20 that their daughter has been murdered, since then this case has taken so many flip-flops, many teams were also changed. Earlier this case was in the hand of Noida police, but suddenly the parents were not satisfied with the theory of Noida police, that's why the case was shifted to CBI. Then again one more team of CBI took the charges, and when the final hearing was about to begin, CBI produced a charge sheet in which they said that they don't have any enough evidence against any of the accused, but the circumstantial evidence lead to a situation that there were only 4 people who were present in the house, and those 4 names were Aarushi, Hemraj, Nupur Talwar and Rajesh Talwar. They also took the account of the driver of Talwar, who said that last night, before the night when both these Aarushi Talwar was found murdered in her house, only 4 people were present. Then they also took the statement of the domestic helper Bharti. Bharti told the Noida police initially, and after that the same statement was given to the CBI, that when she reached to Talwar's residence, Nupur Talwar told her that Hemraj must have gone out to bring.
Talking about the spirited defense that the Talwars had put in also, and also the media scrutiny, of course, since the beginning of this case. We also have with us right now Molly Gambhir and Supriya with us. Let's go to Molly first. Molly, we understand the media scrutiny at Talwar's house is also as intense as it is here in the Ghaziabad court. Remember, Molly, this has been a complete case of media going in for the overkill. There was no privacy left for the victims or the accused. This case went public in a huge way. I'm guessing, Molly, outside the Talwar's house, the media has converged just like it has here in the Ghaziabad court.
Well, absolutely, Athar. We've seen media units and media crew converging here since the early hours of the morning here at Azad Apartments, where the Talwars stay. Now, it's also important to note, like Priyank pointed out, that the case has seen several twists and turns which have been closely watched by the media. In fact, the Talwar couple, as well as their close aides, lashing out at the media for the intense coverage that the media has been given to the various twists and turns of the case. They have been, of course, leaving no stone unturned to closely monitor each of the developments, because there have been so many loopholes in the kind of investigations that have been conducted. Remember, the first glaring example was when the police failed to spot Hemraj's body on the terrace of the same house. That was the high point when the media actually began with its scrutiny about the UP police, whether or not it's being able to handle the case and its investigation well enough. Of course, the media has been gathering here since early hours, like I pointed out. The media coverage has been also lashed out not just by the Talwar couple, but also by the Supreme Court in August 2009, when it had, in fact, asked the media to sort of restrain from the kind of coverage that it was doing. Some sections also thought that the media was indulging in its own trial and trying to subject the Talwar couple to its own trial, and that in fact was the high point of the kind of criticism that the media was subjected to at this point. And there's also this important aspect of whether or not the couple is actually guilty, but the way the media has, of course, been handling the entire trial, they have made sure that each and every aspect of whether the defense argument, whether the prosecution, whether it is the kind of evidence that was the circumstantial evidence that was gathered in this particular case, has been pointed out and highlighted by the media time and again.
Let's also take in a view from Supriya, Molly. Supriya, come in here. Intense media scrutiny has made sure that this case came within the public purview, and everyone who's involved, of course, was under a magnifying glass, a very public magnifying glass, if you will. We understand now the media, if you look at today's papers, the dailies, the English dailies, apart from a small column on the left-hand side, there is no interest really in the Aarushi murder case, except at least in the print media, except about the hearing itself, and that too about the heavy security. Is the media really guilty of sensationalizing a crime involving a 13-year-old girl, but then forgetting about it conveniently until the bigger news day comes along, and when the verdict comes along, we all converge back again?
No, Athar, I don't think so, because of the simple reason that when Aarushi murder case came into light, along with the murder of Hemraj, there was an interest triggered because throughout the country, the young teenage girls, because the Aarushi Talwar represents the young urban middle class and the upper middle class, where, it's just she's a normal round the corner girl who goes out, enjoys with her friends and parties and everything. So there was a resonance of what has happened throughout the country as to if this thing can happen to a girl whose parents are dentists, and she goes to good school, she lives in a city, and then there were theories after theories. First that how the Ghaziabad police came up with one theory and another theory. So the entire nation was rocked by just one thing as to who did it. What is the truth behind this double murder mystery, which was playing out in the media to full gallery, and it was like for the last 5.5 years, media has kept a close watch on the entire aspect of Aarushi double murder case. Interestingly, Arthur, there is another issue on this, because the parents themselves were being blamed and the parents were claiming innocent. And today also, when we had a word with the close relatives and the neighbors, they are saying that though both Dr. Talwar and Nupur Talwar are nervous, but still they are ready for the verdict. They are hoping that the the verdict should be in their account also. But what will be the final result will be only known when the judgment will be pronounced in the Ghaziabad court. But people, the young kids, the teenagers, even the Aarushi's friends, they
all right, we're waiting for that judgment, of course, Supriya, today. We're waiting. Yeah, Supriya, of course, we'll be waiting for that judgment when it comes out at around 12:30. Remember, my colleagues Priyank and Sumit will be inside the court at that point, and we'll try and get you the latest before anyone else. Supriya and Molly, thank you for joining us. Of course, we know you have to get back and start talking to your sources as well, close to the Talwars. Many thanks for joining us at this point. Priyank will stay on with me, but Teena Sharma, who's also our guest in the studio right now, let me ask you this. This is one particular case, because it's a sensitive case, it was a very emotive case, it was emotions were flying high everywhere, everyone was shocked as well. Because a 13-year-old girl was involved, because there was this angle of perhaps an honor killing, there's a social stigma attached to this particular case, there's a social conscience attached to this particular case. My point being, there is this element of mystery that shrouds the entire case, which still continues to this day. Like my colleague Sumit said just a while ago, there is only circumstantial evidence in this particular case. There is no hard, concrete evidence which proves motive, accused and guilt without reasonable doubt, and that's what the law demands. Do you think this shroud of mystery that has covered the whole case for about 5 to 5.5 years stands any chance of being lifted today, finally, after the judgment comes in? And how important is that really for this particular case?
It's very important for the nation to know, I mean, what kind of, what kind of fit of rage you go through when you see something like, your teenager daughter sleeping with somebody, or close proximity where you have sexual relationship. So, of course, I mean, that's what I have understood. But yes, there's another point attached to it, that it has shaken the disbelief of higher middle class or people like us or you, who cannot believe that a father could kill, an educated father could kill his own daughter, for that matter. So, but yes, I would say there are certain other angles which we need to explore, and the court has already explored, and quantum of sentence would be there today on the study for that matter. But yes, I have a very clear doubt, and there's so many leopard reports in the newspapers recently we've seen, or that time when this case has started and taken a lot other angles, where we've been talking about other things also. But yes, there's only circumstantial evidences we could find, and we can the investigative agencies have explored many things, but yes, they've failed to explore those things which has to be taken place today. But yes, there are other angles.
But you also agree, Teena Sharma, if I say the investigative agencies did stumble. They did stumble once in a while.
I think you're forgetting.
They stumbled twice because they kept changing their statements as well.
Athar, I think we're forgetting here. This guy, Dr. Talwar, has forced the medical guy to change his report, to take out that rape incident from the report. we had that story on papers and media, in fact, for that matter, because they actually wanted to manipulate the story. And if I say, Athar, that this story has taken a lot of angles because of this Talwar couple, manipulation, it will not be wrong for that matter. And they had all the intentions.
What about the fact that the two doctors, Teena?
Yes. Yeah,
Teena, what about the fact the two doctors, the two medical examinations that happened on Aarushi's dead body, first by Dr. Naresh Raj and one more doctor. What was the name of the first doctor?
Sunil Dhore.
Sunil Dhore and Naresh Raj.
Yeah.
Raj. They also changed their statements. I remember Dr. Naresh Raj, if you help me out here, Priyank, let's get the details from Priyank right now. Naresh Raj first changed his statement and then he said something else. He changed his statement. Sunil Dhore had a different statement. Isn't that also a big red herring in this particular case? Because the people who examined Aarushi's dead body also changed their statements twice during the investigation.
See, many people have changed their statement in this, during this time period. These two doctors who conducted the post-mortem on Aarushi's body, the main, I'll tell you 2 points. One was the private part of Aarushi and another was the white discharge on the clothes. Apart from this, the evidences which were collected from this spot, from the Aarushi's room, were also a point on which the defense has argued the point. There were 40 spots on the wall. It was still 10 feet high, and all these spots didn't have blood of Hemraj. On this point, the defense has argued the case extensively. Apart from that, this is the point on which the judge has to think about before giving his decision. CBI told the court that Hemraj was present in the room, but from Aarushi's room, not a single piece of evidence was gathered, either bloodstains of Hemraj, either nail imprint of Hemraj, or any DNA material wasn't found from Aarushi's room. So on this point, the defense has argued very extensively, but the CBI was banking on that theory that there were 4 people present in the house and one of them murdered Aarushi and Hemraj.
What you're talking about, the lack of substantial concrete evidence that points towards a motive, that points towards some motive that perhaps the Talwars or even the 3 others who were picked up first, including Krishna and 2 other people whose names I forget, why did the needless suspicion point towards them? Teena, if I could ask you this, Teena, if I could come to you right now, Priyank mentioned how exactly no concrete evidence is on this. This case is based on circumstantial evidence right from the beginning. Do you think that, I mean, obviously the onus is on the CBI to produce the evidence that nails the killers, whoever they might be. But do you think the CBI has enough to go on? Because the only thing that they've recovered from the murder site is circumstantial evidence.
I strongly believe, Athar, and I strongly, endorse a statement where I also believe that CBI had many things to explore. CBI had in fact, after destruction of evidences from Talwar couple, I think CBI could have taken a lot more. And this story is something like, it's a simple mathematical 2 by 2 story where you can see many other things where we've been hearing, since yesterday. I could see a lot of stories on this, and I could see a lot of documentaries coming on channels where you see all the minute detailing of the case, where you can understand how this case had been going, or there could be many things which prosecution has taken out, but prosecution only says that 2 by 2, and plus that's again mathematical discourse which we talk about. And simply I would say that it is not that simple case. It has much more behind it, and I hope bench will take out all the things. If there's nothing left today, judgment will be out soon, but not just judgment. It should be a fantastic judgment where this matter has shaken the country, and this matter gave a boost to country where people like Talwar Dampatis. I'm not just quoting this statement here. I'm taking full responsibility, and I strongly feel that honor killing has taken place, and there are a lot more other things where Talwar Dampati was scared of, and they had to kill their daughter for that matter.
Well, But of course, we'll have to wait for the verdict, the judgment to come, really, Teena. And let's not forget, and I would like to remind the viewers, let's not forget, it's not just a murder case, it's not just a double murder case, it's not just a mystery whodunit. It involves getting justice or procuring justice for a 13-year-old who was murdered clearly for no fault of hers, and nobody had the right to kill that poor girl. But yes, a 13-year-old girl was killed along with another human being, and it's about justice for Aarushi. We'll have to wait and see whether or not Aarushi does get justice 5.5 years almost after she was brutally killed in the middle of the night in her own house. By who, of course, we'll have to wait and see. This whodunit. Back to the studio for now, but I must thank Priyank and Teena who've been with us throughout, and we'll try and get you updates as we go along. Right now, we can just tell you, if you look behind me right now, there is increased presence. We've mentioned how the police, of course, will be strengthened, the security will be strengthened in and around the Ghaziabad court. We can see some increased activity. We also saw, of course, like I mentioned before, the entire contingent of the media has been here since the wee hours of the morning, and that activity has also increased. We expect it to go on further. We're also being joined right now by Sudha Ramalingam, who's a senior lawyer. She joins us, of course, via satellite link. Sudha Ramalingam, many thanks for joining us. First of all, this is, of course, the continuous coverage that we will be giving you on NewsX on the Aarushi murder case. Remember, the verdict is today. Sudha Ramalingam, if I could come to you right away and ask you this. We've been talking to people who tracked the case. We've been talking to my colleagues, our reporters, the correspondents, experts as well. From a legal standpoint, asking you from a legal standpoint, this case has all the markings, all the bearings of a classic whodunit, because the investigative agencies, first the Noida police and then of course the CBI, had nothing much to go on to. It's all circumstantial evidence even till now, even after the charge sheets have been filed. And how difficult is it going to be for the bench, for Justice, Special CBI Justice Judge S.C. Lal, to actually pronounce a concrete and a clear-cut verdict in a case which is marred by circumstantial evidence and also a lack of motive? Sudha, if you can hear me. I think the connection with Sudha Ramalingam has been lost. So we'll try and get back to Sudha in just a bit. Let me go back to Teena Sharma for the time being. Yes. Teena Sharma, if I ask you the same question, really, I mean, it's about justice for Aarushi, but how difficult is it going to be for the bench to actually pronounce a clear-cut verdict in a case which is marred by inconsistencies, right from statements, right from investigative agencies and the way they handled it. They've been criticized for a very ham-handed approach towards the whole thing, and they've been criticized by every corner almost for a ham-handed approach. They tried to cover up things, first of all. So how do you think, is it going to be extremely difficult for the judge to pronounce a clear-cut verdict?
Arthur, I would say that a country like India, where we fight for women rights, we fight for child rights, and we fight for other rights where human rights are talked about, we actually fail to understand how to see the administrative part of the execution of any law or the investigative agencies. And as Arthur, I must remind you that Nirbhaya case has given a lot of surprises to the country, where we understand that yes, our system works, our DNA test works, our dental test works in India, and our administration is ready to explore many other things beyond just the investigation. I'm quoting just the investigation. So this case has failed, where CBI has failed, and investigating agencies have already failed to understand the case, and it was a very clear-cut case of honor killing. It was a very clear-cut case of many other things which could have taken in discourse. But yes, our system have already failed, and I strongly feel that kind of cases we see like Aarushi is giving a total surprise to this country. And people like me, I have also got a daughter like this lookalike Aarushi, and she's close to her age, and I feel surprised where this country is not giving justice, or system is not giving justice to those kids
it was, of course,
who are
for us
innocent.
all, Teena, it was, of course, a shocker and a wake-up call for the entire nation on how lives are lost almost every day in this country, and the reasons can be many. But it was a wake-up call, it was a horror wake-up call. Let's also go across to Sudha Ramalingam, who joins us now, and I think the line is okay. Sudha, if you can hear me, my question to you is, from a legal standpoint, and I asked Teena Sharma the same question right now. You're talking about how difficult it's going to be for any judge to pronounce a concrete, clear-cut judgment in a case which is full of circumstantial evidence, full of inconsistencies, right from the statements of the accused and the witnesses to the way, to the sort of ham-handed way the investigative agencies really handled the case. So, from a legal standpoint, the judge is in a tough spot to pronounce a clear-cut judgment.
You're absolutely right. The thing that we'll have to now understand and keep it in mind is that nowhere in criminal jurisprudence it is stated that the criminal case is to be proved beyond reasonable doubt. But having said that, the Supreme Court in its wisdom has also said that the caution and prudence are very, very important in convicting a person. So, if the prosecution is able to show direct or circumstantial evidences, which would be actually the chain would not be broken anywhere. So, an unbroken chain of events and the conduct of the before and after the crime is committed will show to prove a case or otherwise.
All right. So, of course, the legal standpoint remains, and I thank you for correcting me, because I did not know that nowhere in the court of law it has beyond a reasonable doubt. But of course, there has to be, the onus has to be and is, of course, on the CBI. They filed the charge sheet, but they have to provide the concrete evidence. Let's talk about that for a bit with Priyank Tripathi.
Criminal procedure code does not talk about it.
Yeah. Sudha, I'll come back to you. I'll come to you. I'll come to you.
About it.
Point.
That the judge made law
CBI really
about beyond reasonable doubt.
Yes. Okay. Right. All right. Okay. Thank you for that correction. We're talking about how the CBI really handled this case, and the onus is now on the CBI to provide. So to seal the deal, to seal the case off, so that there can finally be some closure on a case has evoked emotions in so many. So do you think the CBI, the charge sheet that they filed, does it look like on the face of it that it has enough evidence, or it has enough weight to carry on the conviction that the CBI wants?
See, Arthur, the CBI was banking on the flip-flops which the Aarushi's parents did. There was so many speculation that the destruction of evidence was another specific charge on which the CBI has continued its argument. So basically, if we talk about the final argument which were concluded by the CBI and the defense, there were a few points which I would like to mention. First, CBI told the court that only 4 people were present in the house. Then they took account of the driver of Rajesh Talwar, who was the last person who saw before the night Aarushi was killed, that these are the 4 people. Plus, the theory that if a big noise will come, since there was a wooden partition in between the rooms of Aarushi and Rajesh Talwar, it was very much possible that the parents could have heard the sound. Fourth point was about the router timing. The router, which was the internet router, which was the timing was of switch on and switch off, which clearly indicates that someone need to go to Aarushi's room and switch off the router, and during the night, only for 1.5 hours, the router was switched off. Later on, the CBI banged on the theory that how Hemraj was on top of Aarushi and how things were going on, and within sudden provocation, they did this act with the gold stick. Gold stick was also claimed. Then another point was the surgical sling, which was by CBI was told that it was used to slit the throat of both Aarushi and Hemraj. Apart from that, the 7th point was that how Hemraj's body was lying on the roof, and the parents didn't allow CBI to go ahead. They were crying and they were shouting that Hemraj killed Aarushi, and he let down his hair. He left. But the CBI forgot one point, that the DNA samples were not found from the Hemraj room. That on that, the defense argument was totally based on. Apart from that, the DNA samples from the Ballantine bottle, which was kept on the dining table, wasn't having any fingerprint of Aarushi's print. CBI said that someone tried to clean that. So there have been so many arguments which has happened from the both sides. We are only talking about the final argument. What will be the final judgment of the court? We'll have to wait and watch. But if you talk about the balance is on both sides. If CBI is talking about the circumstantial evidence, the defense lawyers are totally trying to take emotional anger. They're trying to bank on the DNA print, which was not found from the Aarushi's room. It is totally up to the court to decide whether the parents killed Aarushi or not.
No, that's the big mystery, isn't it, Priyank? And the big mystery has baffled all of us for almost about over 5 years now. Remember, it was in the May of 2008 when the Talwars first called the police to inform them that their daughter Aarushi was lying in a pool of blood in their house. And remember, just days after this came to the fore, Rajesh Talwar, Dr. Rajesh Talwar, her father, was taken in by the police for questioning. And I think that was on the 23rd of May in 2008, just days after her dead body was found. The father was taken in. Then, of course, 3 others who resided in the neighborhood, including one Krishna, who's from Nepal, and 2 others were also taken in for questioning. And then, of course, is unfolded because the investigative agencies kept changing their stance, kept saying that they lacked enough evidence. The Noida police got involved. Some people still believe to this day the initial investigation was bungled up. Some people also believe, of course, some theories going around that there was a cleanup operation after the Talwars murdered, if they did at all murder Aarushi. There was a cleanup operation afterwards. There are so many theories going around. Like I said before, like I said sometimes already today, it's a classic case of whodunit, baffled everyone else. Today, finally, we hope there will be some closure on this case that has affected so many for so long. Remember, we've been showing you on NewsX friends of Aarushi who've come and spoken to us, friends of the Talwars as well. Remember, there are 2 sides of this story. The defense counsel, of course, has maintained a spirited defense, maintaining the Talwars are innocent and hoping that they will be let off by the special CBI court. But we've spoken to Aarushi, and there is another angle to this story. Before I go into the emotive issues that connect Aarushi Talwar and her murder with everyone watching and everyone taking such a keen interest in this, let's go across to Sudha Ramalingam one more time, get one brief reply in. Sudha Ramalingam, you heard what my colleague Priyank Tripathi was saying right now. He mentioned that there were no DNA samples linking the deceased, the Hemraj, to Aarushi, or even his blood anywhere near where Arushi's body was found. So this threw the cops off initially. This threw the CBI also off initially. The defense counsel has maintained that the Talwars have been completely demonized in this whole case, especially by the media, and they maintain that no father could kill his own child. But given the facts of this case, given the conditions, the circumstances of this case, this was never normal to begin with. This is always an extremely abnormal case. It's really hard to investigate and track those.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. It is a very, very ticklish issue. A murder which has taken place within the closed doors of a house. There were not very many people around at all, and it's in a very high posh locality. There will be silence around the entire area and the circumstances also. So it must have been a very difficult thing for the investigation. But if they had applied their mind scientifically, I'm definite they could have found all the evidence immediately. But they let loose the entire place to an extent where the evidence could be erased off. We are told that the entire house was also cleaned up. So I don't find that the police could have really got hold of all the evidence which they could have done at the earliest point of time, which would be taken advantage of by the defense to show that there are lots of holes in between and the chain or event is not being proved.
Right. Right, Sudha Ramalingam, it's time that I give it back to Meghna in the studio. Meghna, we will of course get you updates as and when they come. We'll be tracking this verdict today as long as it comes, and even after that we perhaps also might have some guests, perhaps even from the Talwar side, as and when they come out of the courtroom. For now, right now, Meghna, it's back to you.
Well, thank you, Arthur. All day long, it's been 5.5 years since media has been tracking the twists and turns in this case. Today, hopefully, we look towards some sort of closure. I'd like to thank all the panelists, and of course, Arthur, we will keep coming back to you for the very latest.
It's expected around